So I was going through my junk downstairs and came across this old laptop which has just been gathering dust for years. So of course it's going to be pretty much useless by today's standards. It's a Core 2 Duo running Windows Vista. It weighs an absolute ton. I just put it on the scales in the bathroom and it was 4 kilos. So it's heavy. It's only got some old style connectors on the back, and on the side we've got a couple of USB. So it's no good anymore, but the screen seems like quite a nice screen, and physically it looks in good condition. It's got this extra little screen here. This is actually a touch screen here. So I think there's a few parts from this which might come in useful. So I'm going to try taking this apart and then try to recycle some of these parts. So this was very easy to take apart. It was just a few screws and then the front of the case just popped off. So the screen does seem to be in very good condition, so this I can definitely reuse. Even the speakers seem to be in very good condition too, so I think I'll try reusing those and make like a little standalone portable screen. So first things first is I looked up this model number on Google and I could get the specs. So this is as expected. It's a 1366 by 768 resolution and this is nice to see confirmed too. This is for the backlight, it's the number of connectors. And we can see here that there's 2 connectors. So this one and this one, these are the 2 connectors to power the backlight. And this is the backlight controller. So far so good. I found the specs of the right panel. Then going on to Amazon, I found a controller board for this panel. Now this advertises as for 18.5-inch screens, but then I googled the spec of this board and it's the same board is used for 15, 16, 17, 19-inch screens, so I think the size of the screen doesn't matter. The important thing is you have to make sure you have the right connector here, and I checked on mine, it's a 30-pin connector, and you have to have the backlight board with the correct number of connectors as well. So this is a 2 connector board because I need 2 connectors. This is the old backlight board. So this comes as one set, and it includes the control buttons as well. Comes as one bundle, and it has a VGA input, a DVI, HDMI, and it's got audio in and audio out as well. And this here, this white connector here is the speaker connector. So I think I can even reuse the speakers from the laptop, which would be nice. I probably could somehow use the old backlight board and I wouldn't need to order this part, but it comes as one convenient set and it's only 4,000 yen, which is, I don't know, 20 quid, so it's nice and cheap anyway. I might as well get it all as one set and then no fussing. So I'll order this and then tomorrow when it arrives I'll try hooking it up and then see if I can turn this into a nice lightweight little portable monitor that I can carry around. So it's about 4 weeks later now, and I'll just explain why. This is the 30-pin connector from the original laptop. You can see all the wires are connected on the left-hand side, and when that board arrived from Amazon, these were all spread out a bit more, and I could see the red voltage lines on the right hand side of the connector. So I wasn't hopeful, and sure enough, when I connected it up, it didn't work. So it turned out that these wiring harnesses are a lot more customized than I first thought. So I sent it back to Amazon, and thankfully they gave me a full refund. Then I went on to AliExpress. So I found the same board on AliExpress, and I decided to contact the seller. So it's the first time I've ever used this chat feature on AliExpress, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I sent them the serial number and the fact that it was 2 CCFL, and I sent them photos of the model number, the serial, the connectors for the backlight, the connectors for the screen, and all the original parts. And they replied pretty quickly. It was within a couple of hours, and they said, this is the one you should order, we'll configure it all for you. Then we carried on discussing it, and I said that I'd like an audio supported board, and they recommended this one. Still, it's very cheap. It's only $22.50, including delivery. And it looks like it has a few more features. They told me to order this one. So finally, again, I confirmed one more time I wanted it to look like this, and they confirmed, yes, we'll configure it all for you. And then I ordered it. And then it arrived. So this is the board here. And I actually quite like it because it's a much smaller form factor than the first board. And also it looks to be a bit more useful. So the connectors on it, we have the DC in, we have VGA, we have HDMI, and we have composite in. So this is actually pretty useful. Having the combination of composite in and HDMI, I think is going to be far more useful than DVI on the other board. And we have audio in and audio out. Yeah, this one's in, this one's out. It has this USB connector. Not quite sure what this is going to do. And it also has the aerial, the RF connector, which I will never use, but anyway. So the board itself, as you can see, is a lot more compact and small. I like the form factor of it, the fact that this is all spread out widthways, and it's quite neat. And it also includes the same button pad. So this will be the button pad controller. So we have, it's upside down. So we have power, menu buttons, volume, TV input button, I guess this must be. And it also has this little board, which is the infrared receiver and what looks like a power indicator. And it even came with this remote control, which is pretty cheap and flimsy, but you know, what do you expect for $20? And as long as it works, that's all that matters. Now the only issue is the inverter for the backlight that they sent only has one of those CCFL sockets. So this is the connector that plugs into the main board. So I contacted them back again. I says, thank you very much, it all came. Unfortunately, the inverter that came with it only has one of these CCFL connectors, because we discussed above that I needed two. And they confirmed, yes, everything would be fine. So then they checked, and then like a day later, they responded, oh, this is our mistake, we're very sorry, we'll send you the inverter, but because they don't save customer details, they sent me a dedicated link, which was just 10 cents, so that they can have my shipping and everything. So I paid that, and then they sent it to me. And then another 2 weeks later, this board turned up. So this is exactly what I need. It's got the two CCFL, one here and one here, and they included this little extension lead so that I could bring it over here and have both of the connectors close together, because of course on the laptop screen the connectors are close together. So the level of service I got from that AliExpress seller was very, very good. I wasn't expecting such good service from AliExpress. If anyone else wants to order one of these, WhatsApp me and I'll tell you the seller. So all in all, I'm very pleased. This entire kit was only $22.50, $22.60, including the extra 10 cents for this, which is no big deal. And the first order arrived within 2 weeks, and then the second board also arrived within 2 weeks. So even 1 month, considering the delay, is not that bad, right? You know. So now I'm going to hook it all up, and then we'll see how it performs. So the board was very simple to hook up. This is the DC in, which is 12 volts, which is nice and convenient. This is the inverter board for the backlight, so those two leads are connected to that. And then of course the 30-pin connector, the lead has a decent length, so the way I've got it propped up at the moment, the lead is just going underneath the screen and it's going up the height of the screen to the controller board on the back, which is somewhere around here. And that's really all there is to it. I've got the button board and the infrared board, and here's the 12-volt power supply that I made in a previous project. So let's hook it up. And this is the first time I've powered it up. Okay, so the red LED has come on. So I presume that means it's in standby mode. Let's use the button pad and try turning it on. Oh, okay. Right. So it seems to have powered up fine. Saying no channels at the moment, which I guess means it's on the aerial. I don't know if it's analog or digital. I don't really care anyway, because I don't think I'd use that very much. So let's go through the inputs, which is this button here. Okay, this must be composite video, HDMI, PC with a VGA one, and interestingly the last one says media, and it's what looks like the USB. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, okay. Well, let me zoom in because I'm not sure how clear this will be on the camera. So it looks like this board has some sort of media player built into it already. I don't know if this is going to come out because it's white on green, but this one is photo and it's a picture of a camera. This one says music, movie and text. I'm going to try using the remote control now and using these buttons to go. Where's the thing? Oh, there we go. So we can go between them. So later on, I'll try putting some media onto a USB stick and see what kinds of thing this can play. So that looks quite convenient. Okay. Now I want to go back to, let's say, HDMI input. And this has a menu, so let's see what features are available through the menu. I'll use a remote control for this. Position that. Menu. Okay, let me try zooming in a bit. So it seems like fairly standard stuff. We have picture mode, brightness and contrast. Let's go left and right here. It looks like it's got some presets here. Fairly standard stuff. And maybe it's got a custom one, which I can modify later, because it seems to have some grayed out options down here. Let's put it to standard for now. And then if we go back up, we have maybe menu to return. Oh, menu again. Okay, so in the sound menu, looks like we have treble and bass, balance, nothing major. Channel seems to be skipped, maybe because it knows I haven't got the aerial connector plugged in. Looks like you can lock the settings once done, which might be convenient. And what else have we got? Oops, let's go back to one last time. At the end it says setup. So it's on English already. Oh look, you can put it into various languages. It's got English, Spanish and Chinese by the looks of things. Blue screen on, I guess that's the background. Yeah. Time settings. So this is a on-screen display times. Looks like it's the timeout of the menu. And let's leave that on 15 seconds. And what else have we got? Logos, USB upgrade. So it looks like you could maybe flash the firmware in here and reset. So, not a huge amount of stuff, but it looks like it's got a few things to play with. What I'm most interested to try is that media player that's built into it. So we'll see what that can do later. Let's go back and have another look at that one through the button menu. So this I wasn't expecting at all. That means the screen might be pretty handy, even on its own, if you had just a screen and a little USB stick. So next thing to try is I'm going to try putting some HDMI signal into here and just see how the screen looks generally. So I've just plugged in one of my Raspberry Pis to see how it looks, and so far so good. This writing looks a little bit fuzzy, but I think that's because this is not a regular aspect ratio screen. It's actually a little bit wider. So I think I may need to fine-tune the resolution output of the Raspberry Pi, which I'll try next. But for now, let's just start a media player, and we'll try playing some movies on the Pi itself and see how it looks. So Kodi seems to be displaying fine. This is all very readable. I'm not quite sure if it's the correct aspect ratio or not, but it looks good enough. Let's start playing one of these and see how it looks. So it looks pretty good. Looking at the screen directly, it looks just as good as any other TV or screen. Not sure how good it's going to come out on camera. It might look a little bit washed out. Let's fast forward a bit. So it all seems to be good, and just to test the sound, I've got this portable speaker which is connected to the jack out of the board. So let's see if that's going to come up okay. Turn that on. Okay, that seems fine. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Okay, so basically, it seems totally fine. So far so good. Very pleased with how things are coming along. A couple of things to try next is I want to try messing about with the resolution output from the Raspberry Pi and see if I can make that shell look a little bit clearer. And the next thing I want to try is the inbuilt media player, and we'll see how that looks. And then finally, I want to play around with the speaker output on the board and see if I can reuse the existing laptop speakers. But anyway, as a first test, even if this is as far as I can get, I'm very pleased. For $22, I don't think you can really expect any more. So I had a rummage about in my spare parts downstairs, and inside an old dead PC I found this cable. So this was originally going from the motherboard to the front panel, I think for the speaker and reset button or something, and the pin spacing of this connector is exactly the same as the pin spacing of the speaker connector on the new video board, apart from this was originally a 5-pin connector and the 4th pin was blank, and this green cable was in the 5th socket. So I very carefully pulled out the green cable and pin from the 5th hole, put it into the 4th one, and then with a blade I hacked off the side of this connector, and then you may be able to see I had to hack off a little bit more of plastic here and there so it fit inside the new socket. Yeah, so the reason I did this was because it was much easier than soldering directly onto the new board. So this came out quite well. So now I'll just zoom out a little bit, and here is the speaker connector on the new board. So I'll just plug this in. Like that, and it's held in nice and tight. And then for now I've just got the other end of the cable connected by crocodile clips to the cables from the speaker. So what I've done for now is I've just connected them directly to the speakers, and I'm hoping that this board can drive these speakers directly, and then that'll be a nice easy solution. What I've also done, as you can see, is because I was using these speakers anyway for the next test, I decided to mount this panel back into the original lid. Also, it's holding it nice and upright, so it's much easier to work with now. And I took the bottom part of the hinges out of the laptop and connected them up too. So now it's kind of supporting itself a bit better, which is nice. But of course it's leaning at the wrong angle, because if I put it 90 degrees it's going to fall backwards. You need a bit of weight here. Normally there was 4 kilos plus of weight here holding it down, so you could tilt the screen back. So now that I've done that, I've hooked up the speakers. Let's boot up the screen again. It's still connected to my Raspberry Pi, and I'm hoping that it will be able to drive these speakers directly. Let's turn it on. Okay, so video's still working fine. Let me zoom in a little bit. And you can see this is the right speaker and here's the left speaker. So let's start that media player again. And to start with, I'm going to put the volume all the way down. So at the moment the volume's on 0. And let's start that same movie again. And let's try. Okay, so I can hear sound coming out already.
Please don't let it steep too long. Thanks so much. I'm good.
So this is about a quarter volume, 25. I guess it goes up to 100.
Sir, Lionel Frost, actually.
And those speakers seem to be working fine. There was no sound of distortion. It seemed good. So let's go up to around a third, around 33.
You seem to have me at every rare creature beat, Mr. Stink.
The Sasquatch. If you think you can do better, Frost, you're out of your mind.
So, up to about a third volume, and again, no distortion, so it looks like I was lucky with these speakers and the board can drive them fine. Let's go up to around half and go to a bit more action sequence.
Bark at me.
And I did.
The bag too.
So, not sure how clear that came out on camera, but it's very clear for me, and there's still no distortion. And this, I think, is about as loud as you'd ever want to put the TV anyway. I'll try it up to about 3/4 just to see, and hopefully I don't blow up these speakers. Let's see. So, I mean, that was pretty loud. I'm going to put it back down again. And still, it sounded quite clear. The speakers weren't farting much or anything at all. So, in fact, they weren't farting at all. So, it looks like I'm lucky with these speakers, and I can drive them straight from the board. And this has given me another idea. If I'm going to be using these speakers, and the screen already fits so nicely, of course, inside its top shell, I might as well go ahead and use this shell, because I can put the front back on, so everything's held nice and neat, and it's got these nice speaker grills built in anyway, of course, right? So I think I'm gonna use this laptop shell exactly as it is, and then make some sort of base, and then mount the new board and buttons and so on in the bottom section here. I just realised that my previous recordings might be a bit hard to see because these are all black components against a black glass desk. So I've put this sheet of paper down now, and things might come out a bit more clear on camera. Anyway, so I've now decided the layout for my components, and before the final assembly I'll just talk you through what I've done. Now, of course, I'm not the first person to use a screen in this way. That's why all these controller boards exist. And I looked around on YouTube to see what other people have done, and most people build a new frame from scratch. In fact, I can't see any examples on YouTube of people using the existing laptop shell. But I want to do that because I think it's just going to save me a lot of work, and also it's got the speakers nicely mounted and everything. Now, my original idea was that I'd have a bottom section, and then all the leads would come out from beneath the screen, and then go to the bottom section somewhere around here, and then I could have like a folding base, and then I'd have the controller board, the inverter board, and all the other little bits and pieces inside this base at the bottom. But that was pretty tricky to do, because I'm kind of fighting two battles. First of all, I'm trying to route all the cables out from the bottom and have enough room so they can flex when things close, and I'm trying to redesign a whole bottom section that will match with the hinge mountings of this top section, and at the same time I'm trying to figure out the layout of the components, and it was just too many moving parts, and I decided to abandon the idea. So in the end I did what most people do, which is I mounted the boards on the back. So let me talk you through the basic new design. So if we take away the front shell, get that out of the way, so the screen will be mounted into the back shell as before, and all I had to do was extend some cables. So on the screen itself I had to extend the two backlight controllers, so I cut the plugs off and just extended it with some wire, and I know where I want the cables to go, so I've taped it up here to make it easy for assembly. And this is the main video lead, which is coming out at the top, and again I've taped it where I need my cables to go through to the back panel. So that's all I've done on the screen itself. Now, on the actual chassis, so I've kept the speakers in their original position. All I did was I swapped the left and the right one because the right one had this long white cable and the other one only had a short red cable, and I joined my cables here, so I just swapped those over. And originally I tried mounting the inverter board in this section here. This is where the original inverter board was, but it's just too tall. Once I hacked out a few pieces and managed to get in, it's too fat, so the actual front panel wouldn't be able to go on top. So I abandoned that idea, and now the inverter board is also mounted on the back. So instead, because I already removed a lot of bits of plastic and stuff, I decided to mount the infrared board here, which just has the infrared receiver and the little power light. So that ribbon cable just goes here, loops back, goes up here, and goes through this hole. Now, on the back, I've mounted my video board. So this just has 2 bolts holding it in place, and it's just bolted with regular nuts and bolts here. And the screen has a little bit of gap behind it, which is why I can route all the cables in this way, and I can include these round head screws, which have a nice lip to hold the plastic. So here's my video board, and here's my backlight inverter. Then the only part left to figure out, I haven't quite decided yet, this is the lead for the button pad. Still not sure what I'm going to do with that. Maybe I'll put it here, maybe I'll put it here, or on this side. So I'm leaving this one till last, and I'll see where it fits best once I've done everything else. So that's basically all there is to it. I put the screen cable through here and the inverter cables through here, screwed the screen back into place with the original mounts. I've just got one in each corner, holds it nice and tight, and then from this side I hook everything up, and that's really all there is to it. Now I need some sort of cover for this, of course. I can't leave it like that. So I had a rummage around in Daiso, the 100 yen shop, and I found this plastic tray. So this is just like a pen tray, or odds and ends, like a desk tidy. But it's nice and cheap, of course, 100 yen being from Daiso, and it's exactly the right width. This board is around 20 centimeters, and this thing is a couple of centimeters extra. Let's see, it's 21.5, right? And it's also the right height this way. So I need about maybe 8.5 centimeters in total, and this thing is just under 10. So it's the perfect size. Also, it's the perfect depth. So I think it's I had about 2 centimeters maximum protrusion from all this equipment, and this is I think it's 2.5. Was it 2.25? Yeah, about somewhere between 2.25 and 2.5. So this is the perfect size tray. So once I've got everything mounted into place, this fits nicely on top. Everything's perfectly housed, and I'll make a cutout for the sockets at the bottom, and maybe some other cutout for the buttons or something. I'm not sure exactly where this button pad is going to go yet. Haven't decided. But of course I don't want it to stay like this, although it's not so bad, it looks a bit weird. So in the interest of keeping everything cheap as possible, I got this little can of spray, again from Daiso. So nothing was more than 100 yen. So I spent 200 yen on this tray and the paint, and the rest is all just a couple of screws and stuff I had lying around, and tape. So nice and cheap. So what I'll do now is I'll modify this tray, and then mount it all together, and then show you the final assembly. So I've finished modifying this tray, and before I do the final assembly and I spray it, I thought I'd show you what I did. So this material according to the label that was on it, is polystyrene based. So it's nice and rigid. You can make cuts and it retains all its strength. So the first thing I did was on one side I made a large square cutout, and this will be for the video connectors. So if I just put it over here, you can see you can get to all the video connectors that way. Then the second thing was I decided to mount the button pad into this case. Originally I thought I'd do it in the side, but then I started running into a little bit of a problem, and that is, if you look at this board, the buttons and the ribbon cable are on the same side of the board, and if you look at the side profile you can see that they protrude exactly the same amount. I mean, I guess the original intention is that you would get some sort of button covers for these, which would, you know, stick out further and they would press the buttons, but I can't be bothered to go hunting around for those, and these little switches work fine as they are. So I decided to work around this piece instead. So to do that, I moved this button pad to the top of the case, because the case is going to be like this, where I had a bit more room to work with. So the first thing I did is I made one long cutout here, and this is so all of these buttons can stick out and then you can press them. It has a few mounting holes already, so I matched those up here, and then to account for this ribbon cable I made a cutout here. So this board now sticks flush against the plastic, and now you can see the buttons stick out and they're very easy to press, and the only compromise is that you'll see the ribbon cable connector, which is no big deal. The ribbon will come from inside the case, just curve up and then connect here. So this was a nice compromise to do something quick and cheap, and avoid hunting around for more parts. So that's basically it. Now I will spray this black. I'll make some sort of label so I can see which button is which after I sprayed it, and then to attach this to the screen itself I found this spare bit of wood downstairs, which still has the label on this side. It's 9mm by 9mm. So the idea is that I'll just cut off a short bit of wood, and it will go along the base here on both sides and maybe a little bit at the back too, and then I can just screw straight into the wood sideways, and from the inside of the screen case I can screw again straight into the wood, and using wood because I had it and it's cheap and easy. Far easier than trying to do something with bolts, and better than using glue, because if I need to take this off for any reason and mess about with it, I can just unscrew it, and I can always replace the pieces of wood if the screw holes get ruined by taking it apart. So that's that. So all I'll do now is first I will spray this black, and then I'll bolt everything together, bolt the screen in, and then the last part to figure out is what to do for the base, but I have a couple of ideas for that. So I'll show again once the assembly is complete. And here's the main unit reassembled, looking nice and neat again. When I was cutting the hole for the infrared receiver and LED, I melted the plastic a bit, so I had to cut the hole a bit wide to neaten it up. But that's okay. What I'm going to do is, next time I'm in Hardoff, they have hundreds and hundreds of old remote controls in this big bin for like £100 each. So I'll find one with a nice flat top. You know, that kind of dark purpley red plastic that you get on the top of remote controls, and I'll shape it into a nice rectangle shape, and I'll stick that on top of this. The back looks quite neat. This is how that box came out. Pretty good. So you can see here there's access to all the video ports, and just on this side, if you look into this corner here, you can see the end of one of those wooden battens. So there's a little wooden batten going down here, and this side, and across the top here. And here you can see the screws where I've just screwed into that wooden batten. So this is held on nice and tight. It's nice and strong. This is how the top came with the buttons. So now these buttons are nice and accessible. The only thing is, when I was spraying it, I kind of gripped this bit with my thumb, and the little bit of black plastic that goes across here snapped. But that's okay, it's good enough. It's looks neat enough. So this is how it looks from the top. That's where the buttons are, and this is how it looks on the side. Video ports, and then the other side looks like that. So it's nice and light. Very pleased with how it all came out. The only final thing to do is, using these existing hinges, I need to make some sort of kickstand. So I thought I'd move to the kitchen where there's more light to show the final result. Now these are the original hinges in their original place, and normally if I use this old tray, the laptop hinges like this, and then this bottom piece opens. This is where your keyboard and stuff are. So I thought about keeping some sort of panel at the front and then using the hinges this way, and it would make like a protective front for when it's not being used. But I don't really need that. And the other thing is, when it's folded down, you know, this takes up a lot of space, and you need a lot of table space to have the thing open. So instead, I used the original hinges as they were, but instead of mounting something on this side of the bracket, I mounted on the underneath of the bracket instead. So I found this old bit of Perspex. It's 5mm thick, so it's nice and strong, and it can take the flexing and the bending. And I mounted it on the back of the screen. So then, to put the stand down, you just bend it down like that. And if I show it from the side, this is how it looks now. So now it's a much more reasonable footprint. It's fine to have, you know, this much sticking out the back. That's how much you'd have from a normal kind of TV of this size anyway. Just to show how strong these hinges are, you can have it as much as that, and I think it goes to here before it starts to tip a little bit, about there. So normally this is about viewing angle anyway. It can quite comfortably go at 90 degrees because there's more weight on the back now due to this control box, and in fact it can actually go more than 90 degrees and still be stable. Look, so if I do there, see, it's still, if I try to tip it, it's still falling backwards, and you have to get to about here before it starts to fall, and you're not going to want to watch TV at that angle anyway. So this is how it came. Looks quite neat. I quite like the stand, and then you can just fold it away so it can be like this for storage. On the underside I sunk the screw heads in so they don't interfere with, you know, any surface you put on or scratch it or anything. So these are actually countersunk in quite far. I could do that because this is 5mm thick. Then on this side it's just bolts. I didn't really have to modify much at all, and then it's quite easy to open. You just stand it up, pull it down, and that's it. So that's how it looks, which I think is a pretty good result. Very pleased with it. If we go through the total costs, the control board cost me $22.50, and all the other bits and pieces were just stuff I had lying around. I suppose if you had to put a price on them, I mean, a piece of Perspex like this is, I don't know, a couple of dollars, $3 or $4, and then the screws and stuff, if you had to buy new, I suppose maybe $3 or $4 again. So I think basically it's around a $30 build for this, about 3,000 yen. About 20 quid using all recycled parts, and I don't think you can get much better than that for the price. I had a look around on Amazon to see equivalent screens. Now of course they're a little bit higher resolution, but they start at around $150 for a simple screen like this with a couple of inputs and nothing special. Then if you go up to having a battery embedded, you're going up to around $250, 25,000 yen odd. And then if you want to go up to actually having touchscreen as well, then you start hitting the $300 to $400 range, which is just way too much. I would never spend that much money on a screen that I don't really need. It's just a nice second TV screen that I can put anywhere. It's very versatile. But for $30, 3,000 yen, 20 quid, you can't say better than that. So only task left to do now is I'll find a bit of plastic to cover that hole, and I need to pop down hard off and pick up a 12-volt power supply, which is easy, there's loads of them. Running it on my homemade power supply, it was drawing around 1.5 to 1.7 amps at peak, which is a fair bit, but there's loads of power supplies around, so I'll pick up one of those, and that's it. So I'll do one more demo with it hooked up, just so you can see it running. So for the final demo, I thought we would try the inbuilt media player. So this is a 30 gig card. I formatted as NTFS in a USB card reader, and if I pop that in like that, and let's boot it up. And I'll zoom in. Okay, so now we're in the media player mode. It might not come out too clear on the camera. So first of all, let's try photo. So I put a music, photo, a text and a video folder on the root level of this card, and basically you browse it like a file browser. So first of all we'll go to photos, and it seems to pick up these JPEGs okay. So we'll go into it, and then you can see down the bottom of the screen there's a few options. We can choose slideshow like I've chosen at the moment, or you can manually flip between them, and it's got this quick menu button. If I go here, you can choose how long the slideshow is, you can choose how to fade in, fade out, etc. It says background music, I'm not sure where it's going to read that from. Let's get back out there, so you can flip between them manually, or you can do a slideshow. So photo seems to work. It's reading these JPEGs fine, and if I bring the menu up, which is press OK, it's reading the EXIF information, so it's showing the resolution and when it was taken. So that all seems to work fine. So now let's go back to the next section and let's try music. So I've just dumped one album on here. So if we go down to the music folder, so when you go into any other folder it won't read anything. So let's go to the music folder here, and it's detecting some MP3s in here, and it's got all the MP3 tag information as well. So let's just try playing one. So you see it picked up the MP3 tag details, name, artist, album, track, etc. And that seems to be playing fine. Again, if we go into the quick menu, you can choose like shuffle mode or repeat mode. So that seems to work fine as well. Let's go back up to movie. So I dumped a few test files on here. The first file I dumped on was quite old, and it's rather low quality. So if we play this, it actually says audio not supported. So for this file, it doesn't know the audio codec. So it might not be able to play everything, but it looks like it plays most things. So let's go back up to another file. So this one is that same movie we were watching on the Raspberry Pi. So if we start playing that, it seems to be playing fine. And if you go here, you can skip at 2 times, 4 times, 8, it goes up to 16 times. But let's just play it for a little bit. So that seems to be playing fine. Let's how do you get rid of the menu? Exit maybe? Yeah, there. So now we can see it, okay? So let's go back up again, and then this one is a much higher quality file. This is like 3.5 gigs, I think, this file here, and it seems to play this one fine. Let's fast forward a bit more. So again, I'm not sure how the quality is going to come out on camera, but on the screen it's nice and clear. So let's just press play, and then get rid of that. So that seems to be playing fine as well. Finally, the last section it had was text. So I don't actually know what this was, so I dumped just a straightforward text file on there. Something I did in Notepad. I just copied some stuff from like Wikipedia. So it says the quick brown fox, and this is just a section from Wikipedia. So all it does is show the text, and I haven't put enough text to actually need to scroll or do various pages. But it looks like it just shows the text, which I suppose if this was used in maybe some sort of commercial environment, like a shop or a display or museum or something, I don't know, you might have scrolling text. I don't know if it shows images as well. I don't think so, because it says .text. I'll never really use this anyway, but there you go. So it looks like the inbuilt media player is pretty nice. So not only do I have quite a versatile little TV, I've got quite a little smart TV as well, all thrown in for the price. So can't really say fairer than that. And it's reading the USB stick fine, which is just plugged in here. Later I may try plugging like a full-size hard disk into here, like a USB hard disk, see if it can play that. That might be fun. But that's about it really. So project complete, and all in all, for the price and for the performance, very, very happy. So it just goes to show, don't throw away your old laptops. You can get some useful stuff out of them. Pretty cheap. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.